Hello again, everybody. My name is John De Healey. I do a podcast called It's Good to Talk. Sure, it's good to talk, good to listen to. Got into podcasting because of my good friend Tony McGurn. I wrote a book for him. It's on Amazon. It's also on audio. He was born in 1941 and he's still alive. Stories up until then. All his life stories from growing up in Leitrim, Cavan, and here working in the down south during civil rights. My sponsors are Liffey Van Lines, a moving company here in New York City, and they've been around longer than Jeopardy. When it comes to moving, let Liffey do the lifting, and they are one of the most qualified moving companies here in New York. And be careful always, go with professionals, and we'll come to a professional in a minute. I also give a shout out to the Irish Examiner USA. Paddy McCarthy is the owner, publisher, and it's a great paper to get nowadays because of all the events coming up between now and Christmas, and indeed after Christmas. So that's important. Now, another guy I have to give a shout out to is Tobias Burke, heating and air conditioning, HVAC, and he gives you good advice. He tells me to tell you to check your thermometers and your heat. You'll be changing over to heat, and you should set it, he said, for 72 degrees approximately, and take a close look at the controls. That is the temperature, the fan speed, and just a general quick look and make sure it's working well. And if not, call out to be mechanical. I always have a good guest on today. My guest is from Ireland, and I like to have people on from Ireland because I'm from County Mayo. My guest from County Mayo, and my guest is John Corkran. John, hello and welcome to It's Good to Talk, John.
How are you, John?
You're from Westport, yes?
Westport, yes. Ballinsleva, a village just outside Westport.
Okay, well, Westport, I know, is one of the few planned towns in Ireland. It was planned by an architect called Wyatt. He was an English architect, and indeed, it's a credit to him and to Westport. The streets are like Park Avenue. He was very smart to build nice high walls along the riversides, so Westport is always good even in a downpour. Because the focal point in the centre of the town is a clock. There's a huge tall clock, and it has 4 faces on it, and has a nickname called the 4 Liars. Not like everybody in Westport, but the clock has a different time on each side. Now, John Corkran, you grew up in a village, I assume, outside Westport. That's right.
That's right, about 4 miles outside Westport, 4 kilometres.
Yeah, and where did you back then? Did you walk to school, or was there a bicycle or a bus?
We walked 3 miles to school every day back and over. Even going to mass on a Sunday, we walked 4 miles.
Okay, so good exercise. Okay, good exercise. And have you memories from school, like from, I know in my school it wasn't easy. I only walked a mile, but school was, back then corporal punishment. They were allowed to.
Very tough, very tough.
Very tough.
You had to bring your own cane. You had to cut the cane and bring it in, and it would be used on you in them days.
Yeah, well, I remember teacher bought the canes from a guy that stole the chalk and the copybooks and everything. But those were hard punishment, actually.
Yeah, it was tough times. There wasn't much around at the time. Things were very poor in Ireland. Work was slack. I remember, like, Kilburn and Castlebar. My father, when I was about 11, got sick with cancer. And my mother took me out of school for a year and a half, 2 years, to work the small farm that we had to keep things going. So he had to kind of take over. And now we lived for a long time, but he was in a wheelchair. When I was 16, two of my friends, which were into painting and decorating, said they were heading off to London. And if I wanted to come, there was nothing at home. So it was October 66. I decided to take the plunge and headed off to London at 16 years of age. It was very tough when I got over there. It was a different life. Met a lot of Irish people. Everybody was in the same situation from counties, but I found great people there. All willing to help each other. There a long time. Had a good life there. Enjoyed every bit of it up until I came back in the year 2000.
Okay, well, let's go back to 66. In that era, England had a shortage of labour, so they were welcome. There was a welcome for the Irish, kind of, an ambivalent situation where, they, on one hand, they didn't like us, but now they needed us. And the Irish indeed turned out to be great workers. I'm sure you'll attest to that. And then it was a situation. A lot of the English got to like you, personally, not necessarily your politics, and we didn't like their politics. But there was some good English people, like people that maybe you work for. Who did you work for in particular in the painting industry?
I worked for a fellow called Arthur Jarrett. He had about 36 painters, which was a lot of painters come back then. But he was an absolute gentleman.
Okay, nice to hear.
And more than 50% of his workforce were Irish.
Very good.
And he said, just as you said there, the reason was because they were good workers.
Okay.
And he's an absolute gentleman. Kept in touch with him until he died at 83 years of age.
Such a beautiful testament to your
Yeah,
boss. Not everybody in this day and age would have the same praise for their boss. That's quite, you must have been quite a kind and generous and fair individual. But I'm sure, again, on your side, as you said, the Irish lads that work for him were probably hardworking, honest, and went out and did a good day's work and a good week's work and, got paid. Am I right in saying that?
yes, he was in a big way, and when he was doing contracts that were all over the country, like he was the man who, when they launched Miss Selfridge shops, he
Okay.
got the contract. So the work was all over the country. So the team he picked, he had to trust him because he couldn't be in these places. He
I'm
sent
sure.
you off, gave you a
Yeah,
target, and was very good to us. And
very
at
good.
the same time, we've seen the whole of the country, which was brilliant,
Yeah.
you know.
That's interesting because I understand that the Irish guys like yourself, indeed, you had no problem moving from one town to another town, or 30 or 40 miles was no big deal, and get
No.
into a new job and, experience the new town or the new countryside, indeed. And that's why your former boss probably liked you for that, because you didn't say, well, I'm not going there because I'm stuck here. I have a wife and kids, I have a house, like the English, your English counterpart. So the Irish were good to the English as in contractors and as workers. So I often hear stories about you getting paid in on a Friday, and a lot of you guys maybe didn't have bank accounts, so you had to go to the local pub and cash the check. Is that right, or do you get paid cash?
Yes, well, I seen that from the Labour side.
Okay,
I never got into that situation myself.
okay,
Now, I was lucky enough. A guy took me one day down to the Crown in Cricklewood at seven
yes,
o'clock in the morning. He said, "We'll go." I wouldn't have had to work till about 7:30. He said, "We'll go at 7. I want to
mhm,
show you something." We went into a cafe on Chicheley Road, and it was
mhm,
like a hiring fair. They take them for a day or maybe 2 days. This is the rougher end of the market
mhm.
and pay you at the end of the day bad money. And I felt so sorry for the Irish fellas I seen there, probably a lot older than I was at the time, at
Yeah,
7 o'clock in the morning in a cafe drinking pints of Guinness.
I remember one time, I was only in London a few times, but I did frequent that pub called the Crown. Absolutely beautiful building itself,
It
and
was
it
a
was owned by
fantastic building.
beautiful building. I think it's what's known as landmark building. I'm sure it's still there because it would just be a treasure to knock it down. I witnessed that situation of people coming in and cashing the check because like they didn't have bank accounts, and the bar owner, bar staff would take the check, and they must have had, I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds downstairs in an office in a safe. And they seem to have a system of, say, if you had, say, £300, they gave you so much every few hours. So you tended to keep drinking there until you collected it all. And I guess by the end of the weekend, you had it all drank. Well,
And
what
they
else?
had got most of it.
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe you'd put a few pounds aside for your mother in Ireland and send it back at Christmas, or maybe go back at Christmas, as a lot of the lads did. But the Crown and
yeah.
Cricklewood, but it was a necessary thing, if you didn't have a bank account or didn't know how to get yourself established with a bank account at the time. That even happened here in New York City as late as the 70s and 80s, where a lot of Irish illegal wouldn't be able to get bank accounts open, and they would get paid maybe with a check, and they had to go to the Kinsale Tavern, and there was one here on the Upper East Side.
Yeah,
And, that was owned by a man called Frank Stagg, and he was very fair. He would take the checks in, and it got to a stage where they charged a small little fee because the bank in turn would charge a fee for depositing a third party check, I guess. So that was
yeah,
part.
yeah.
As you said there, you saw a lot of sad stories too of Irish, you know, maybe not being as lucky as you are, and maybe getting a couple of days' work here and there. I hear
Exactly.
of like McAlfine's Fusiliers and the Murphy contractors and contractors like that. The
And
word that you
they were paying them cash, and the boys couldn't have a bank account, and they still give them. Sometimes they give them a check. They were
right.
charging them 3% on checks that time in
Wow.
the pub, which was
Right. I
pretty.
didn't realize. I didn't know the percentage. I knew there was some little thing. Yeah.
Uh,
It was tough times for those lads, and I remember when I was over. I met some of my people from Mayo, where I'm from, because I grew up in a ballroom, and to me, it's like they were stuck in time. They hadn't changed. It's almost like they were wearing the same clothes and they looked the same. And they were surprised to see me because maybe when they left, I was only like 10 or 12 years old working in a mineral bar. And now they see me in London. Of course, I'm not looking for work on the construction site because I
yeah,
kind of want to be, I don't think I'm cut out for that. But that was
Right.
the situation then. And then on the good side, then there was good times too. The dancing again, back to the ballrooms. Like I remember names of like the Galtymore, the Kilburn. You probably know them better than me.
The National in Kilburn was the
Okay,
family Careys. They were from the borders of Cork and Waterford.
okay,
They were a construction company and they opened up a dance hall and they done
okay,
very, very well.
good. And then I
Now they
suppose
were
if you,
great places. They were great places to go.
yeah. Well, the Galtymore and the one you mentioned, in
The
turn, then they
National.
would hire Irish bands. So
That's right.
sure, like Daniel O'Donnell and Philomena Begley. I had Tommy Moran on here. He's my second cousin. He plays with a group called the Duets. And Tommy Moran and his good wife, Duet, I guess they're Duets, him and his wife. And they still play in the National and in Galtymore. And they tour a lot all over England too. So they're keeping the tradition up. And Tommy is indeed a very good singer, musician, and writer now at this stage, I believe. So he was on my podcast. If any of my listeners care to look it up. So tell me a little bit more about your experiences then. Like day one, I guess you didn't know a paintbrush from a roller, I guess, yeah?
No, and day one, when I started, I didn't think I'd stay long because after leaving a small little village, where at the time a car only went through the village once a week, and all of a sudden I come out of a station in Houston, and I said, "Geez, my biggest job will I be able to cross the road?" And that begs. I said, "Oh my God!" But it's amazing how quick you
You,
adopt and get in, and they got a job straight away because the two lads that I was with were in the painting. One of them had been in London before; he had a bit of an advantage.
yeah.
Got in a week before me, and he brought me along as an apprentice. And
Mm,
all the guys I met now, and some of them were English foremen, they were good.
they're
But I
good.
suppose we were
You,
quiet and we kept our head down and worked.
yeah, you did. And then I guess they show you something and you do it. And then I guess like the Beatles singing, you do it often enough, you get good at it. And then
Yeah,
you repeat
exactly.
it over and over in terms of painting. Then it gets to a stage where you're an expert at it, I would imagine by now. If you're not by now, you never will be. But
No, no, oh, Jesus, it brought us to good places. We actually painted it, well, you could class it as a holiday home in London, a holiday home. It was a big holiday home for the Crown Prince of Kuwait.
oh wow,
And
well, he would be short of
that
money.
was, and we got a job. We were sent from England out to
Mm,
Monte Carlo to do a job
wow,
by an Irish contractor,
right. Well, the
Elcon
crown,
Construction. They're still in London. Very, very, very high profile company. And he sent us out for 3 months. We spent in Monte Carlo doing a
right.
contract.
Well, the crown prince, I guess his colours would be different from the red and green and Mayo, I'm sure, indeed.
Oh, there was a bit of red in it. he, he was a good guy. He was, well, was good, but all his bodyguards were Irish.
Okay, good.
He had great time for the Irish. And when we finished, he gave us it was the time of the Kuwait War.
Okay.
And when it was over, he got X amount of watches made specially for staff.
Oh
And he gave
wow,
us one each when the job was
oh,
finished.
that was kind of a
The
nice
date
gift.
that Kuwait was liberated and the
Right,
flag.
right.
He was a nice guy, and he was in residence while we were doing his apartment or his house,
Right.
which is very rare because he
That's rare,
normally
yeah.
be done while he was away.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I've come across some of those people myself, and they are very extremely generous indeed and kind. And he was
yeah.
smart to have the Irish boys as bodyguards because they'd be minding themselves too, especially if they were members of the boys. They'd be safer with him than around him. They'd be safer for themselves. I'm sure he had a lot of gold paint in his
Oh,
renovations.
stop! All gold. Gold is the thing. Gold, everything.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what
we
we
love.
were doing. We were in there for a month doing nothing, only gold leaf. We used to do gilding.
I think the gold goes with royalty, and indeed the President of the United States, that's one of his favorite colors. His toilet bowl is actually gold, you're engraved in gold, and the washhand basin is gold, and his bed is gold. Everything is gold, actually, for Donald Trump. On that note, we'll just get Jimmy Grady to sing a song.
I skimmed across black waters without once emerging on to the banks of an urban morning that hungers the first light much, much more than mountains ever do. For she, like a ghost beside me, goes down with the ease of a dolphin and emerges For she is the perfect creature, natural in every feature, and I am the geek with the alchemist stone. For all of you who must discover, for all who seek to understand, for having left the path of others, you find a very special hand. And it is a holy thing, and it is a precious time, and it is the only way. Forget-me-nots among the snow, it's always been, and so it goes, to ponder his death and his life eternally. For all of you who must discover, for all who seek to understand, for having left the path of others, you find a very special hand. And it is a holy thing, and it is a precious time, and it is the only way. Forget-me-nots among the snow, it's always been, and so it goes, to ponder his death and his life eternally. One bright blue rose outlives all those, 2,000 years, and still it grows, to ponder his death and his life eternally.
Jimmy, thank you very much, Jimmy, for the song. Jimmy is only great. He's only 14 years old. His father's from Clare. 14, yeah. 14 years. When I met him first, he was 9.5. Now he's getting old. His father is from County Clare, and his mother is from Roscommon, and he just recently started playing the guitar. Going, he's doing well. He won't be worried about painting houses, I'll tell you. Now, back to you. Back to you. We got the gold paint and the Crown Prince. Speaking of painting, over the years that you've been painting, have you noticed trends in colours? Like I remember one time I was in Barcelona, and for some reason, orange was the colour then, and then you go another few years and a different colour comes in. Have you noticed trends like that?
Yes, big time. Magnolia was the colour in the early days. It lasted for years.
Okay.
Then it went to greys in the last couple of years, these light greys, and it's changing now again to very dark colours. It's amazing how designers and architects follow a trend.
They do, yeah. Yeah. Speaking of designers and architects, I had a barber on here a few weeks ago from Manhattan, Josh, the barber, and he was explaining about in his job, because just I like to meet different people bringing in a photograph of Ronaldo. I wouldn't want to be getting a haircut like Ronaldo now after him giving an elbow.
Not after the other night.
No, not after the soccer, no. He got the red card. Red should be his colour. Like, would people come maybe to the architect and bring a photograph of a house they saw someplace and say, paint my house like that? Is that common?
It is very.
Okay.
But designers won't, because designers want their own
uniqueness. Yeah.
Unique thing.
Thing. I got you. Yeah. And another question I have then, is there a preference, like drinkers, I suppose? Like one fellow might be a pint of Bass and another fellow might be a pint of Guinness. Would you be more bitumen Moor or Valspar, or is there a certain paint you prefer over another paint?
There is. Well, believe it or not, it's an Irish company in Kildare. They're not that big, but they're very expensive, but their quality is head and shoulders above everything else.
Okay.
Colour Trend is the name of the company.
Colour, yes, good.
Yeah. An Irish company that will not sell. All the other big companies try to buy them because they're a thorn in the side. But they won't sell because they're doing so well. Yeah, well, from my knowledge, I think some of the companies do buy out, like Valspar
is made in America. It's made here in Minneapolis, and they hire 15,000 people or more. Benjamin Moore is also an American company. It's two American companies, and I'm not sure if they amalgamated. And then there are certain companies that won't sell, like, for example, in Home Depot. Certain paints you will get in Home Depot and certain paints you won't get in. I'll remember
That's
that
right, yeah.
The Colour Trend.
You get ones made specially for them as a contract for that company.
Right. Now, in the UK, you don't have a Home Depot. You have something else, something similar. You have Home Base or something else.
Yeah,
BB&Q, maybe. You have something like a Home Depot. Same. That's very interesting. So, Colour Trend, and okay. And that paint, was that available in the UK as well, or?
They're just last year they went into the UK.
Well, I'm amazed that
but it's very expensive now. It's at the top end.
So, well, you pay for quality. I often emphasize that any product or indeed services in the moving business at the moment. There's a lot of lowballing going on, and some companies have been caught here in New York for lowballing, given one price and then extorting a higher price from the customers, and it's a horrible thing to do. Liffey, we give a guaranteed price, and that's why we're 50 years in the business, and you have to stand on your reputation. So let me see what else is in the painting world. So when you came back then, did you kind of keep with the paint, and you didn't just stand tools, pardon the pun, and retire, did you?
No. I got in with a building company. I come back in the boom time.
Good.
Well, as long as it lasted for about 10 years.
Right.
But I had a gang of 8 or 9 guys in Waterford. I came back to Waterford. And we're going well up until 2007. And that's when the downturn came.
Okay. So I never met you in person, but it's nice to meet you now. Indeed, you seem like a pleasant man. I'm sure you're very dedicated to your work. You contacted me through Martin Moore, and I'm a friend of Martin Moore's, going back to when we were volunteers with the Irish Wheelchair Association. And Martin now is working with Special Olympics. He's always given time. He's a generous man, giving his time and giving something back to society. You did a stunt yourself in Haiti one time for a charity.
I did. In 2009, we went to Haiti, on a building program. It was the charity I was with, was the first venture any charity ever went into Haiti, because there was no law and order. There was peacekeepers there. So it was a bit risky.
Of course.
But it was a great experience. It was a desperate situation. Desperate. I never witnessed. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Good. Well, it's good to travel. It's good to meet different cultures, yeah.
Yeah, we'd be trucking away, and I had a bit of luck the year before, and I just said give something back to them.
Good for you.
It's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
So when you had a bit of luck the year before, what happened? Did you hit the lotto or something the year before?
No. We'd be trucking about and back a few horses and things, and my friend owns a few horses, and I just stuck a few quid on 3 or 4 of them, and they're all obliged.
Okay, that wouldn't be...
Doesn't happen too often, but...
It doesn't happen too often, no, but...
so I think when you get something like that...
I must ask you a question that was asked of Bertie Hearn. Do you remember the names of the horses that you won on?
I do, most of them.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Do you know what the name of the last one was?
Tell me.
The last one of them. Little Do You Know.
I like the name. That could be.
I liked it as well. That was the last one.
Well, it's good to talk, and Little Do You Know. It's a good name too. So my guest is John Corkran from a little village near Westport in County Mayo, and Little Do You Know. Now, little do you know, the town of Westport. Do you know somebody I met that actually lived in Westport, and her name was Betty Davis, the actress. So she lived in Westport for a long, long time, and she did. And she had a fine house there. And I did meet her here in New York, 311 West 43rd Street. So I have a good memory too. And she did have Betty Davis eyes. And for those people that want to know what Betty Davis eyes are, well, they're kind of bulging eyes that look a bit too big for the size of your head, a bit like a dog's balls, I suppose. But they made her look beautiful anyway. And actually, those eyes they're some kind of a disease, actually, but a good disease to have, you know. Yeah. Anyways, enough about Betty Davis. Back to you, John Corkran, my guest today on It's Good to Talk. And Little Do You Know, is that horse still around, is he?
He's not, no. He's retired.
Gone out to grass, yeah.
No, it was good. It was part of the reason I got a few quid and went to Haiti with some good friends, and the starvation and no doctors, no nothing there. I never thought any place could exist in the world so bad.
Oh, yeah, it's tough, yeah.
You know.
That's very tough, yeah.
It's worse now, I believe.
And it's worse now because there's more civil war and stuff like that.
And that girl that was kidnapped out there.
Oh, indeed, from Moore, yeah.
She's from
Yeah.
Westport as well.
She is indeed. That's a sad story too.
I
Especially
met
when
her out there when we were there.
when volunteers give of their time and then they end up in, pardon the pun, the crossfire and getting in a bad situation. That's really, really tough.
It is, and she was there 20 years, 20
Oh my
years
God.
helping.
Yeah, that's all of her life to give to
Give all her life. She gave all her life to them. Great
Very
woman.
sad. Very sad. Well, I remember betting on a horse with my good friend Tommy Joe Murphy. Tommy Joe's from Mayoman as well. And we were building Mother Hubbard's, the restaurant I built in Kildare. That's how I got involved with the Irish Wheelchair Association. So we took a Saturday afternoon off to bet on a few horses. And a chap called Dorn from Bangor had 2 horses running in an English race. I wouldn't be a
Tommy
betting.
Dorn.
No, well, Tommy Dorn is the owner of the horse. You're right, yeah. That's
I know
the
Tommy Dorn.
Yeah, he owns a lot of horses. So he had 2 horses running. So myself and my friend said we'd take half a day off on a Saturday because we were working hard building Mother Hubbard's. And I guess I was the boss. I could do what I want. So we went into a town called Infield to put up some bets on. So I wasn't the betting guy, but I do like to use logic. So we'll put a bet on the first horse of Tommy Dorn's horse. If that horse wins, then we'll walk away. We won't bet the second horse because the chance of 2 horses by the same owner winning on the same day is highly unlikely. So we put a bet on the first horse, and he came in at great odds. He was like an outsider. And we collected our money. And of course, people in the bookie shop were looking at us and wondering, have we information because we're from Mayo? We didn't, and we left. But Tommy Joe took my advice, even though he's a compulsive gambler. I said, no, the deal was we'll take the horse that wins, the first horse, and we won't bet another bet. And we went and we left. The name of the horse was called One for the Boys. So we decided that's the name of the horse, Tommy Joe's horse. So we decided we'd go to the pub and have one for the boys, a drink. So it's amazing how you remember a horse's name when the horse is lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
Truth be
Tommy
told,
Jordan had a good lot of luck. He had a lot of luck later on with a very good horse.
He did have a lot of luck down the years, and unfortunately one time he had a jockey that fell off a horse and was left paralysed, and I met him in rehab in Dublin.
Did you meet him? Yeah. Broderick. Yeah. John Broderick. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yes, in rehab in Dublin. Rehab, by the way, people that aren't familiar with rehab in Dublin, it's a rehabilitation centre for people that fall off motorbikes or any physical disabilities from car crashes or indeed falling off a horse. And their nickname is Lourdes, because if you get in there with any bit of life in you at all, they're generally able to bring you back to physical well-being, being able to walk and all that. I have a lot of friends that went through there, so it's out in Dunleary in rehab, yeah. So in rehab Dunleary, and yes, that young man.
That's very good you say that now, because I have a friend just going up there at the moment.
Okay.
And do you know what happened to him? He's in a bad way. He got stung by a bee, and he was allergic. He only got one sting on the lip, and I reckon he'll never come back out of it.
Well, he's going to a good place, and if there's any movement at all, and one friend of mine from Glenamoy, actually, Kieran Moran, he worked in a forestry and he fell from a tree and he was paralysed from here down. I sat by his boat and I thought in my own mind, you're done, you're never going to walk. And then 6 months later, they had him up and walking. So they do. It's
Great
called
stuff.
Malures because it's miracle. So I wish your friend well and all that. So now, John, let's tidy up our talk. It's been good talking to you. Anything else you would like to highlight in your memories going back from the age of 16? Like the dances in the Galtimore and drinking in the Crown and Cricklewoods. You have family. Where's your wife from?
Waterford.
And did you meet her in London?
In London, yeah. That's where all the...
That's where everyone met everyone.
I have twin girls.
Twin girls, okay.
One of them is here and one of them is in Sydney.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, she works in mental health in Sydney. Yeah, tough job.
Tough job. And I know I spoke to Megan last week. That's your other daughter. That's
yeah,
very
she's
good.
Here. She's 2 kids.
Very good.
Jack and Ollie.
They didn't get into painting contract.
No, not yet. One was 11 and one was 4.
Okay, well, they might become artists in their own way. Yeah, I do have a lot of artists.
Yeah, they might. No,
they get drawn to the paint. So, John, good talking to you. I don't know if I have anything else to say to you. Only to wish the Irish soccer team well in their bid for the World Cup coming up next year. 2026 is going to be a big year here in America.
Tomorrow's a big day for them, isn't it?
And
tomorrow is a big day. Yeah.
Well, this podcast goes out, we'll know where they're at. So anyways, I'll leave you and I'll say goodbye to you. I speak my Irish language, thanks to the Queen of England. Say, the scale on Waichan. That means we had a very good story. Space Galella means we have another story. Shen Slán. So I'm going to say Slán, John, Agus Slán the Fall. Goodbye for now.
Thank you very much.